Yes, you are welcome to my online class or virtual class in the subject SLW 616, that is law and economics, if I not be mistaken. Yes, anyone can unmute and read that what I posted on the screen. I repeat, anyone can unmute and read what I posted on the screen so that you are with me, I am with you, and both are sailing the same boat to reach to the destination. That is my intention. And here I posted is welcome to the students of the SLW 616 to my virtual class on 28-10-2023, the time 9:10. And here that I would like to see that economic efficiency in the law of tort, where we are discussing the fraud and misrepresentation. And here that I posted the meaning of the fraud. Fraud is an intentional misrepresentation or concealment of the fact with an aim to deceive the other party. In the meaning I am speaking, whereas comes to the misrepresentation is concerned, misrepresentation is an innocent misstatement made without any intention to deceive the other party. When the sections are concerned, fraud is defined under the section 17 of the Indian Contract Act 1872. But let me compare that what is the fraud would be there in the law of contract in Tanzania. And the misrepresentation defined in the section 18 of the Indian Contract Act, and what would be the relevant provisions would be there. We have to check it in the law of contract of Tanzania. And intention to deceive it there. There is intention to deceive the other party is there. The intention is more important in the fraud. When you come to the matter of the misrepresentation is concerned, there is no intention to deceive the other party. When you come to the matter of the belief of the factors concerned in the fraud, the party making the fraudulent statement believes that the fact is not true, because the party who is making the statement is very much clear that it's not true and he is deceiving it. When you come to the misrepresentation is concerned, the party making the misrepresentation believes that the fact is true and he knows that the fact is true, but he doesn't have any intention to deceive it. Then the suit for the damages are concerned. In the fraud, the aggrieved party has the right to sue the party for the damages. A person who is aggrieved by the fraud, and he can have the or she can have the right to sue the party who deceived him or her. Then when you come to the matter of the misrepresentation is concerned, the aggrieved party cannot sue the party for damages because he did it with a bona fidely. That is the reason. Then the fifth is the defense of the courts are concerned. The party who made the fraudulent statement cannot set up the defense that the aggrieved party had a sufficient means of to discover the truth. But when you make the fraud there, you are not supposed to show the burden on the other party that he should have to know it. When I was deceiving it, he should know the reasonable care to do so. But he cannot do so because it is intentionally done it and he believed it in the fraud. When it comes to the matter of the misrepresentation is concerned, in case of the misrepresentation, the party who made the representation can set up a defense that the aggrieved party had the sufficient means to discover the truth. But in the misrepresentation, they can make the statement, the defense, that they do have the right, they do have the eyes, they do have the ear, they do have the mind to see that whether what I said is a right or wrong. So these are the distinction between the fraud and misrepresentation is concerned, and which is the economic efficiency would be calculated in the law of tort by using the fraud or misrepresentation. So let me come back to our study is concerned, where we stopped in the last class, where I made the 3 asterisk marks. Now in this class that we will see the fraud and misrepresentation, and I have given the clear-cut meaning of the meaning and section and intention and defense and other aspect of it, totally number 5 we discussed just now. So fraud and misrepresentation are also covered by this tort as per the National Phonograph Company Limited versus Edison Bell and Company Limited. This is the one of the landmark case law. The defendant purchased the product from the claimant for the resale. See, he purchased for the resale, not for the use. So he purchased the product for the resale. One of the conditions of the supply contract was that the products were to be sold at a set price. So the condition put it over by the supplier that the product should be sold at a certain price. Means a price fixing is there by the person who supplied the product. So the defendant ignored this stipulation. The defendant who is selling for the resale ignored such a stipulation and were placed on the list of the suspended clients. So when he ignored it, naturally the person who supplied it and he put his name in the suspended clients. and blocking them from the dealing with the claimants. So he stopped the dealing with the such a customer, such a client, and asked, requested the other people not to Karvistana Mishmiva, not to sold it a price. The defendant ignored this stipulation and were placed on the list of the suspended list because the person who supplied the goods and he put the condition that you have to sell the products in the fixed price, but he did not follow it. That's why that he put it in the suspended claimant, blocking them for the dealing with the claimants. So he also blocked that he should not have deal with any other person, those who are the clients to him. So in order to get around this, the defendant had their employee act as an independent retailer. So here the defendant had their employee set an independent retailer who bought from the claimant and then furnished the goods to their employer. So one of the member from the retailer, he became the member of this and he wants to deal with the case and transactions. So this practice was itself a breach of a contract, because when a person is suspended over there, if any one of the employee of the suspended will come to have a contract with them, naturally it is against the norms of it, because he is also one of the employee of the suspended client. So the practice was itself a breach of a contract. The employees were not allowed to give the stock they had brought to their employer by merit of their suspended status. So once it is suspended, then they are not supposed to supply any products to that suspended client. The claimant found out about the rules and sued for the unlawful interference on the basis that the defendant had made a fraudulent misrepresentation or imposed the loss on the claimant in the form of the undermining the price practices. Once the defendant is suspended over there because he did not follow that he are not supposed to sell the exorbitant rate or less rate, but it is fixed by the supplier and who told it to sell in the stipulated price. When he violates it, yes, he can have the suspended. If any other employee makes such a thing, it will not be entertained and it would be not enforced in the court of law. So that is the whole idea behind it. I don't know whether because you join in the middle and now you disappear. Federalists kitange, you appeared and you're disappearing. What is the reason? Sir, matando matatizo. Sema?
Sure, Prof. It might be because of network in Tandao.
Yes, that I told you. When you want to hear my class, if it is necessary, go to the Kilimanjaro and sat over there. My point is, you have to sit in that place where the frequency or the broadband or the signals are strong. See, in the same house, in one place you don't get the signal, but in another place you get the signal. Do you know it?
Yes, Prof.
So, sit in that place where the signals are strong. That is only the remedy. So, I am dealing with the misrepresentation and fraud in the law of tort. So, fraud means intentionally doing. They already made clear by showing the thumbnail poster. And the misrepresentation, there is no such an intention to deceive him. Bona fidely believe that he made such a statement. But he doesn't have any honest fraud to do a fraud. But in the misrepresentation, he can say that you have the eyes, you have the brain, you have the ears, you have the knowledge. Then why you did not inquire about it? Suppose if I say, for instance, my sister is a bikira, and please marry her, because I want to make my sisters to be married. And if I say she is a matumba, can anyone can marry?
No.
So it is you should determine whether she is a Bikira aromatum bara virgin or second hand in the misrepresentation. But in fraud, intentionally he did so. So that was the distinction that I made it clear in the earlier. So what I want to say here in the fraud, Lon Rojo versus Fade, this is one of the case law, the Queens-Benz case law. Both the claimants and defendants were attempting to place bids for the purpose of the London department store Harrods. I don't know whether you know what is meant by claimants.
I know,
Change.
Prof. Yes, Prof, I know.
What is that claimants means? What is the terminology in
Claimant.
Tanzania?
Sorry, can you repeat it, Prof?
What is meant by claimants and defendant?
Claimant is the one who bring the suit.
What
before the
terminology
court
we
of
use
law.
in Tanzania?
Yes,
What terminology we use in Tanzania?
in Tanzania. In civil cases, we use it may be used as a plaintiff. That's the commonly used name, plaintiff.
In the criminal
The
cases?
plaintiff, the one. Criminal cases is prosecution.
Of course,
Side.
prosecution will take up later. Applicant
Okay.
or complainant. Is it clear?
Clear.
Applicant, but the preferable word is complainant because he is complained to the police. Am I right?
Yes,
A complainant may not be the victim. Am I right in the criminal cases?
Yes, it might be.
Now here the claimants and defendants were attempting to place bids for the purchase of the London department store Harrods. You know when you make the bids, you know what is meant by bids? BIDS, bids. Bidding.
No, Prof. Paso.
Bidding means stake. See, I bid it in tender. So my price for the Mona Lisa, a good painting, is 1 million. It's my bidding. So auctioneer say 1 million, Professor Dr. Mohammed Saheb Hussain. 1 million, Professor Dr. Mohammed Saheb Hussain. And 3 times if he say, I am the bidder, last bidder. But anywhere, someone will come and interfere it and say 1.5 millions or 1.1 million. Then the auctioneer say, yes, 1.5 million, Mr. Y. 1.1 million, Mr. Y. 3 times if you say, and later on, he will bang the gravel on the sound peg, it's the final. That is called bidding or auctioning. Is it clear?
Clear, Prof.
So attempting to place the bid for the purchase of the London department store house, both claimants and defendants. So the claimant had their bid investigated by the Monopolies and Merger Commission, but due to fraud on the part of the defendant, their bid was not. So the claimant had their bid investigated. How? The people, those who made, investigate the claimant bid by the Monopolies and Merger Commission. They see that how this claimant had made such a figure as a bid. So it was investigated by the Monopolies and the Merger Commission, but due to the fraud on the part of the defendants, the defendant made the fraud. What fraud? The defendant made the fraud on the part of the defendant, their bid was not. So here, one of the defendant made a fraud, and who is the employee of the other company and where the bidding is going on. At that instance, if any person leaks the bidding amount of other company in the closed tenders, even 1 Tanzania shilling less, you quote it, the tender comes to you because you are less price tender. Is it clear?
Clear, Prof.
So now that is the way that tenders would be made, and this effectively help us the claimant bid and the defendant secure the deal when the fraud becomes apparent because the defendant made the fraud. Of course, defendant made it because on the interference of the claimant, and the claimant sued for the unlawful interference and were successful even though the unlawful act was not aimed at the claimant. Now the question comes over there. Who interfered with whom? If the defendant has shown to him you make like this, that means the defendant interfered with the claimant, not the claimant interfered with the defendant. Is it clear?
Somehow confusing, Prof.
Yeah, the point is here, no? Two parties are there. In the two parties, they want to make the bidding. One of the parties says, I know the bidding amount of this price is this much, and induces the claimant. You bid this much. And based on that advice, the claimant means the plaintiff bid. Means he says, okay, this much amount, because the amount is given by the defendant. Now in this case, defendant interfered the claimant. Am I right?
Yes, Prof.
At that instant, suppose if you wrongly mention the amount, which is actually is very high compared to the value of it. That means he made a intentionally fraud to the claimant. Say the cost of the Mona Lisa painting is 1 million. But this defendant who had the touch with the people, those who are selling the Mona Lisa painting, and say its cost is 2 millions. So better you do one thing, 1,999,000, you quote it. And that fellow did it. But later on, the claimant came to know that the cost of it is only 1 million. And this defendant has induced him to make 1,999,000. At that instance, the claimant will bring an action against the defendant because why did you induce me? Is it a misrepresentation or is it a fraud?
It is a fraud.
It is completely a fraud. When you say the misrepresentation, even the defendant himself does not know what is the cost of it. But he presumed it. The cost may be this much. At that instance, the applicant or the claimant will have the defense that he can inquire it by knowing from the various other sources, including the Google search engine, and then can make his bidding. Then that comes to the misrepresentation. So that is the whole idea behind it. And the law of tort, there is a good case law is the Rooks versus Bernard. And this is a very beautiful case law. And this case law shows about the breaching of a contract or the threatening to breach of a contract. And here, inducing breach and unlawful interference, there is a precedent of the breaching contract or threatening to breach contract. See, breaching contract is different or threatening breach of contract is different. Am I right?
Yes, Prof.
Sale is different. Agreement to sale is different. Is it clear?
Yes.
Like agreement to marriage is nuptial, engagement. And marriage itself is tie-bond. So here Rooks versus Bernard case law, he said, the claimant means the plaintiff was a draftsman. I don't know whether you know draftsman.
Sorry,
You know what
Prof.
is
Can you
meant by
repeat what did you
draftsman?
say? Shortsman.
Here on the in my screen it is clearly written there. See, you check the screen. The claimant was
Yes,
a
yes.
draftsman.
Yes, I can see it, Prof, but I don't know what does it mean.
Oh, draftsman means, survey in civil department.
What, Prof?
Survey.
Survey.
Yeah.
Yes, I know, Prof.
They will make the measurements, the depth, the width, and how. Is it feasible to make a canal from this area or not? If it is this area making the canal, whether the area belongs to the government, whether the area belongs to the private individual. If it is a private individual, you have to pay the compensation for the acquiring of the land. So they will make the survey. Survey means a type of the research they do it. That is called survey. So a person who surveys and he makes the map, a map making person is called draftsman, especially for the land. And there is a course is there, a special course he has to undergo, a draftsman course, like welder course, electrician course, turner course, fitter course. Are you following me? Vocational
Yes, Prof.
training. Have you gone to the vocational training center anytime?
No, Prof.
You don't know what are the trades are there in the vocational training. Say yes or no.
Yes, Prof.
What yes? What is meant by yes? What are the courses that are taught in the vocational training? Sir, it is LLB 3YDC, LLB sir, LLM and PhD in the vocational training. Is it your answer? Answer me.
Yes, Prof.
What is what is meant by yes, prof? In the vocational training, there is no LLB, there is no LLM, there is no PhD, and these courses are only in the universities. In the vocational training, there would be a plumbing, molding, turner, fitter, welder, gas welder, arc welder, surveyors, electricians, winding man. These are the vocational training centers are there, and where people are trained and they become as professionals in their profession. It is like a certificate course, we can say. But when you go to the polytechnic, it is like a diploma. When you go to the university, it is a degree. Is it clear?
Clear, Prof. Clear.
So now here the point is here is employed by third company, and BOAC, it is a, I don't know whether you know it, that BOAC, it is a Boeing of aeronautical, they manufacture the Boeing planes, and he had a disagreement with the defendant union AESD. So this person has a disagreement with the defendant union, and the defendant union threatened the employer, if you employ this draftsman and you are going to make the strike. So he thought better this draftsman will be ousted. So he ousted the draftsman, and he followed the advice of the trade union, because trade union is more powerful than a draftsman single individual. Am I right?
Yes.
Trade union, it will take the welfare of the employees, which are in thousands. If one man will be terminated, it doesn't make any effect. It can impress on the employer to terminate that fellow by showing the reason. In the appointment also, it is a clear provision is there. Without the reason, an employer can terminate the service at any time. But a notice should be given. If the notice is not given, at least in lieu of notice, lieu of notice, 1 month salary should be paid. So it is applicable to both the parties, employer and employee. So the defendant then threatened an illegitimate strike of its members if the claimant was not dismissed. So the trade union threatened the employer, if you don't dismiss the claimant, we are going to make a strike. Essentially a threat. Its member would breach their contract, which included no strike clause. The claimant was suspended. The claimant was Dotsman and eventually dismissed. He then sued for the defendant, who is the defendant? Union, on the basis that they had threatened an unlawful act or unlawful strike with the intention of interfering with his livelihood. They said, you interfered with my livelihood by making the strike and threatening to the employer, and the employer has terminated my services because of your force. The claim was successful, and Reed noted that, like a threat of violence, the threat of unlawful strike was just as much as a coercive weapon. So threat of thing is there. If any employer wants to dismiss it or terminate anybody's employment, there should be a strong reason should be shown. He cannot, like his whims and fancies, terminate service of anybody. Even the government employee, it is easy to employ the employee, but difficult to terminate his services. Is it clear?
Clear, bro.
Suppose when you want to give the kupanga, nyumbani, you want to give your house rent. It is easy to give the rental agreement and give the rent. But when you want to evacuate the rental fellow and who is having the lease, it is a Herculean task to evacuate him. The reason is the court will try to protect the interest of the tenant, because tenant is a helpless man and landlord is a powerful man. Am I right?
Yes, bro.
And always court will see that a weak man should be protected. Who is the weak man here? In the rental agreement?
Between the lessor and the lessee, the lessee always become a weak party.
Who is the weak party?
The lessee, the one who is going to pay rent.
Tenant.
Instead of the tenant or lessee. There is lessee and lessor.
Yes.
So
if the lease is the lessee, if the renter is the tenant.
Yes. Sure.
So this suggests that threatening a breach of contract can very much be considered unlawful interference. There exists a notable theoretical oddity here. However, the two-party intimidation scenario, because threatened breach of contract can constitute unlawful interference. This means that it is possible for a situation to arise where one party to contract threatens the other with the breach, creating a cause of action to arise in both the contract and tort. It will be valid. For example, a steel supplier with a contract with a car manufacturer might threaten to fail to upkeep the half of the deal in order to get a more profitable price for their goods, and this would be both breach of a contract and the tort and unlawful interference, and the precedent of it set by the rules. Any person who cannot interfere with the other person who is having the contract with the another party and cannot force the other person to make a breach of a contract, it is nothing but inducing the other person to make a breach of contract. And hence, it is unlawful interference. and it should be paid. Since the contract has contained rules which limit the recoverable damage and tort does not, this would mean that a claim for the breach of contract could be effectively be decided in tort terms, thus striking a established contract law principles. Lord Huffman comment OBG Limited versus Allen discussed the top of this action suggests such a situation would not be recoverable since the emphasis the need for the third party to be the subject of such interference. So what I want to say here in this example is in the breach of a contract, whether the damages are more or in the law of tort, damages are more. You tell me.
Sorry, Prof. Can you repeat?
Yes? In the breach of a contract, where the damages are more or in the tort, committing a tort, the damages are more.
I think it will depend on the nature of the breach in case of contract and the amount of damage which was suffered. Then on the other side, it will depend on the circumstances of which case.
In general, tort damages are more than the contract damages.
Then why, Prof?
Because there are various slats are there in the tort. But in the contract, there is no such a slats because the slots are compromised or agreed by the parties. But in the tort, there is no such an agreement would be there. For instance, accident. In accident is it an accident? Is there an agreement between the victim and the wrongdoer?
No.
No. So now, what is the age of a person who got the victim, who got the accident? Number one. How much his salary would be there? Number two. How many years he would have to live if this accident will not take place? Number three. Number four. How many dependents are there on him where he can take care of him? Number five. If he lost a leg, an artificial leg will be needed and still he lives for the more than 20 years because accident takes place in the 40 years. That means 60 years is the average age for the victim. Means each year, each 5 years, one artificial leg should be purchased. That means in the 20 years, 4 artificial legs should be purchased. Means each leg cost is say about the 10,000 or 20,000. Like the 20 into 5 because each year the cost will be increased. See, different slabs are there. And these all
Then
slabs
Prof.
will make it out and the compensation amount is more. In tort.
Okay, Prof.
But
Okay,
such
Prof.
a
Then
slots
let's
are not there
assume.
in contract.
Okay. Then Prof. Let's assume maybe the claimant suffered damage because of an accident, but the damage suffered was, or he got a slight injury, in which the compensation upon it cannot exceed more than maybe 500,000, and there was a breach of contract which resulted to the
It is agreed by the
loss.
parties. If it is not agreed with the parties, then whatever the damages will be occurred, a party should be restored back and how much amount would be paid. That much amount would be paid as a compensation if there is no such an agreement of the penalty or damages.
Okay, Prof.
See, a general example I can give you. In the casual labor, women get the more money or men will get the more money.
Man will get the more money.
Suppose both are doctors. Can the woman doctor get the more money or the man doctor will get the more money?
If both are doctors,
Yes. And that to be government.
then that means Their compensation will be determined depending on the nature of employment agreement.
Nothing. Both are
Then,
doctors. That's all. The same terms and condition for both, irrespective of the male or female.
yes.
That means the equal pay would be given to them. The reason is both are equally competent in their profession. But if facilities are given more to the women, why?
I don't have right answers, Prof.
Because becomes a pregnant. A man will not become a pregnant. Mimba. Maternity leave extra would be given to the female employees, and working hours, the female employees will not be employed in the night. They will be given the general shift. In extraordinary cases, it will be the night shift with the para staff of the female. So what I want to say is tort damages are generally the more in nature than the contract damages. When you come to the defenses, yes, the breach is concerned. What are the defenses are available? If it is a intentionally or unintentionally, depending upon that one, or what the defenses are available there, and what are the exception to it, they will count it and they will make it out. Then only the defenses will come out. Can you say the defense? Sir, the opposite party is fully drunken and he made with an accident. Okay, I do agree. But you could see that the opposite party is coming with a rash and negligent. Why you did not avoid it? Sir, I tried to avoid it. Show the your try to avoid it attempt. Yeah, if it is proved over there, then the person who made it from the opposite direction would be 100% liable to pay the compensation. So, what are the defenses are available? Because there are general defenses are there in the law of tort, like the voluntary not fit injury, act of God, third parties negligence, trifles, mistake of law and mistake of fact, statutory authority.
Frustration.
These are all the general defenses available in the tort. Am I right?
Yes, Prof.
So economic efficiency will be counted over there when they are awarding the damages. Either it is a contract or it is the tort or it is a transfer of property when such a breach has occurred over there. And I already prepared the questions to you. I just you can have the glance because at any time it will stop. I prepared roughly 8 questions here. Did you see the first question, second question, third question, fourth question, fifth question, sixth question, seventh question, eighth question? Because you are four, at least I thought 4 into 2, 8. So 8 would like to make it out. If possible, I can increase another, at least 4 into 3 means 12. 4 is to 3. 1 is to 3. That would be the.
lot of time working on social media for my clients. I create a lot of video content